Welcome to Topic 3, International Positioning. This is our discussions for Week 3 on Thursday at the 11th of October. We started our discussions in International Positioning, and via this screencast we will conclude our discussions on this particular topic. We've had a busy week. At the start of the week in our Tuesday lecture we were introduced to the case studies. And as noted in our Thursday lecture, the material that we will be looking at international positioning and the material for the next couple of weeks are directly relevant to your particular case studies. So every lecture will assist you in the development and the rollout of your discussions for your case studies. So what are we looking at? And let's just recap on what Thursday was all about. In Thursday's lecture we looked at product positioning. You have a journal on your Moodle page that's linked to international product positioning, and those scholars suggested that international product positioning is a cornerstone of any firm's marketing strategy. Goals of international positioning are that of differentiation, brand equity, and the importance of being able to avoid the brand parity, i.e. to make your product not the same as everybody else's, so that you're not competing on price or incentivizing people in one way or another, but to actually make it different through the actual product, by adding value, or by increasing or adding to the company value. We also looked at the international positioning steps, and the very first step was to identify the target market. The second was to analyse competition within the target market, and the third point was to identify points of difference. After those three steps, it led to the development or enhancement of the position or the repositioning of the particular product. So that led on to various examples that I brought forth in our lecture on Thursday in relation to Nike, in relation to Quaker Oats. All of these examples can be incorporated into an essay question that will appear at the end of this particular screencast. So let's take a look at where we stopped the last day and where we will start today. So in terms of international challenge and opportunities, we have technology related, we have country of origin. Just take a note on the country of origin effects. This is widely discussed in relation to the paper that I put on Moodle for you. So the theorists, Johannesson and Thorelli, actually talk about country of origin effects and how it actually has significant impact on international product positioning. So they perceive that there are numerous causes of misperceptions of a given product, many lodging in unique perceptual biases and selectivity of each individual consumer. So there are also factors which create shared misperceptions amongst larger segments of a population, and one such common source of misperception in international markets is that of country stereotyping. There is much evidence that people in one country tend to have common notions about people in other countries, and also that these stereotypical evaluations carry over into the realm of product evaluations. So, since these stereotypes are shared among many people, the international marketer has to take them into account when positioning the product abroad. So we do discuss this in more detail, but you can refer to that particular document and extremely important. Also, the role of regulation and packaging and labelling when you're actually thinking about going international and entering into a new market or a segment. We looked at technology related in Thursday's lecture, but we're going to start all over here again. We took a look at the role of maybe new technologies and how they may improve nations' infrastructure, both digitally or infrastructure in terms of road, transport, etc. Also the importance of consistency. Consumers might be aware of your marketing elsewhere as a result of the fact that you have multiple platforms that you are marketing on. And this is extremely important. One of the core principles of integrated marketing communications is a topic that we're going to look at further on in this module. In terms of the international aspect of IMC, is the importance that your message and the face of your business is integrated and consistent throughout the marketing platforms that you're on. Also, in relation to the digital divide is the differences between those developed and developing countries. You are working with case studies from developing countries. However, even within these particular case studies, some of these case studies are more advanced in terms of their marketing, in terms of their Facebook, their profiles, their web page, etc., in contrast to others. What's the role of positioning of tech products may be extremely different. But ultimately, there may be a level of consumer reluctance. So the original positioning from other markets may not work. And I use the example of the Raider bar. So in 1991, Raider bar, which was sold throughout Europe, became Twix. Essentially was a rebranding, name alone, but not the actual product itself. So what happened? Consumers across Europe actually did not take to this particular rebranding, and as a result, the product was being delisted across numerous retailers across Europe. Mars had to launch a campaign. Essentially, this campaign translated as Raider becomes Twix, nothing else changes. So you can see that consumers become very reliant and very stuck in certain industries and with certain products on certain brands and certain names. Positioning of new products as innovation, we would nearly almost say, and we could argue that innovation is evident across any industry and any product, and a product in itself could be inherently innovative. There's competition in these markets may also come from different products. So there's a challenge there and an opportunity when we're working with technology. When we look at country of origin effects and country stereotyping, just think of the times that you actually refer to where a product comes from. And maybe it's not every product that you do this for, but maybe it's a product that maybe is a high involvement product that requires you to really look at the detail behind the product. So responsive product due to the country that is its perceived source. So home country, origin country, made in country, designed in country. And this is particularly evident when we're thinking about the automobile industry. And when we're talking about cars, we automatically think about the brand and where the country of origin is. And a lot of people are very focused on whether it's a German brand, a Japanese brand, Italian, French, and whether that signifies a perceived level of quality or standard. The country of origin stereotyping can drastically alter the position of the product in the minds of the consumer. So it does happen. So think about your products. Does the country of origin add to or negate against what you perceive to be a good thing or a bad thing for a potential consumer base? When we talk about country of origin, we look at the country image. So the country of origin effects often are based on the stereotype conception consumers have about countries. Country image consists of attitudes and knowledge about a country, and we know this. What do people think of our country? We are amenable, we're friendly, and therefore we have benefited from having major tech companies and major world-class businesses set up their headquarters or major incubation centres here in Ireland as a result of our strong country image, maybe within business. It's also shaped by the country of origin consumer home country differences. So culture, language, ideology and politics. All of these come into play when we're thinking about a home country and the image linked to that. Other sources of country of origin effects, we've talked about certain elements of this before, but when we talk about ethnocentrism, we're talking about our home country is the best, and that's the perception and the inherent subconscious belief that we have. Aminosity, we talk about sort of the tension between countries. We see this in relation to China and the US. We see this in the Middle East. There will be naturally countries that you are more likely to trade with and those that you're likely not to. Maybe there's countries that we automatically step into because we have existing relationships, and also their country and their cultures and their ways reflect that of ours. There also is the nationalism, the feeling of belonging to a country. And some countries and some nations are more patriotic than others. There is an element here of religious similarity. So to what point does religion impact on a product as a result of country of origin? And I give you an example of Mecca Cola. So Mecca Cola is seen as #BeDifferent. And I would really question how different you perceive it to be when we take a look at the products that they offer. So Mecca Cola is our flagship product, refreshing cola with natural ingredients, giving a zesty and welcoming taste. It is perceived to be different, and it lives in the values that encompass that particular religious segment. Also, when we take a look at their other products, Diet Coca-Cola, you possibly could see some similarity to another brand in terms of their packaging and their colour, and you would question how different they actually are. However, to some religious segments, this would be a preferred choice over that of other major commercial brands. So obviously, it will have an impact on why people will choose to buy certain brands over others. Also, regulations. Regulations are extremely important. We know this. So let's just think basically in terms of regulations. Some of the major regulations that are emerging are in relation to health and also data protection. So recently across Europe, we've had the GDPR, and that's the regulation and protection of data across all organizations. So any company who's coming into Europe from outside of that will have to adhere to the general data protection rules, etc. In the same sense, diet claims on particular products will have to fall into the regulations of the new host country in which it enters. Regulations may keep a company from positioning a product in terms of a new benefit or attribute. So, is it vegan certified, lactose regulated? Does it adhere to those particular thresholds, and what is categorized for that certification? Extremely important. It may keep a company from, in some cases, from entering a market at all. Maybe it is too intense and too time consuming and too costly to live up to that. Each country's government has sovereignty over business activities with national boundaries, so foreign business must follow the regulations and rules within the country that they come into. I'll give you a very basic example. So Tropicana orange juice with calcium has to be marketed as a drug in Canada. And you will know that in certain countries across the world, what is regulated as a drug is very different. And what is legalized in certain countries is very different from others. Also, now as we come up to Halloween, you'll be aware of the safety rules and the regulations around the selling and buying of fireworks. And even that is very country and region specific. Packaging and labels, it's a must. It's extremely important. Packaging is the last seen ad for any product. And extremely important to get it right. But due to globalization, the production process may take place in a different country. And you can see this when you take a look at different food produce or different clothing, etc. Ideas are generated somewhere. The product is developed somewhere. As you can see, different value chains. It may be manufactured in another country, packaged in another, and sold in another. So, example, in the US, the product is off, made in, designed in, packaged in, assembled in, certified, made in. Even in the Ireland alone, a beef produce could be born, reared in the south of Ireland, be brought to butcheries in the north, and then sent back to the south of Ireland to be repackaged and sold on. This happens, but essentially what the government are trying to do is trying to hone in on the importance of the carbon footprint and the value of less steps possible or carbon emissions from the field to fork. There are ethical issues in relation to international positioning. Positioning plays an important role in encouraging consumption. Sometimes consumption can make us feel that we aspire to buy something, to be someone, and sometimes positioning can be based around the social status, and this has been criticised as being unethical as a result of driver of low esteem across particularly a younger profile and possibly even older. So this is the sample essay question that's linked to your topic. So one of the cornerstones of a firm's marketing strategy in any market is development of appropriate product positioning plan. What are the steps for the implementation of international positioning, and what factors must firms take into consideration in this process? Please use your examples where possible to support your answer. The first thing you would do is you would go back to that particular journal, Johannesson and Thorelli, on your Moodle page and see where this discussion comes from. So read that journal, take notes. Go back to your lecture notes for the second piece and take a look at the steps of implementation of international positioning. and then think of the examples that we've talked through to date. This should make for a nice essay question.